We have come to the end. Here we go. Let's get through the last few chapters. Chapter 65, the baker. So they have found Planck there, standing with the phone that they were looking for, the phone that they left there that was recording. And Planck is clearly in a lot of pain. He looks terrible. His one eye is black or blue or whatever, and he has blood stains on his shirt. He still has the same shirt on that he was wearing when he disappeared in Istanbul. Okay, so this guy has had a really rough time. Obviously he was picked up by the baker's men and held captive by them. He gives Zander and Greg the cell phone back, and they explain to him that Dirk is also there and that he's been looking for him. So they give him a quick rundown of what's happened. But then Planck explains to them that there's a woman waiting for them. She wants to see them in the Giardini Reali, the Koninklijke Tuine, the royal gardens. It looks like this. Okay, that's a top view. There's a canal right next to it, right? And then these massive buildings. There's some boats. There's another little small canal on the other side of these royal gardens. Absolutely beautiful. It has like a fence around it, okay? So this is where the final scene plays off, in these gardens. Okay, so in the garden there's a woman with a long black dress. She wears a mask with a beak and little wings. So it's something like this picture here. Okay, a beaked mask with something. It's like a Venetian mask. I think they call it a Venetian mask. Okay, so quite appropriate. Scary, like very creepy. Okay, and she has black eyes. Okay, so this woman is not not friendly looking, not very inviting. Okay, so they're in the garden, and when they wanted to flee, they were like, oh, this is not good. Let's get out of here. Klap die swaar eysterhek agter hulle toe. The heavy iron gate shuts behind them, and they are stuck in the garden. Two strong men, twee sterk mans kom staan voor hulle. Two bodyguards, two guards or whatever, comes and blocks their way. Greg now looks at the cell phone in his hands, and he sees Planck's message, dis 'n lokval. There's a boodskap. This is a trap. Okay. Now they are being entrapped by the baker, this woman, and these men. Nog mans kom uit die skaduwees. More men come out of the shadows, and they block all these little garden paths. You see these little garden paths? They're all blocked. Okay. And the woman introduces herself as the one and only Valkyrie. Okay. We've been reading about Valkyrie for many chapters now. Okay, hulle het Planck gedwing is forced, om sy maats in die tuin te lei. They forced him to direct them into this garden. This is a pre-planned trap. Okay, the baker, even though they got close to him, he's always been one step ahead of them. Hulle loop agter Valkyrie aan. She leads them. They follow her. Planck whispers to them. He says, I've seen the baker and he wants to kill all of us. Okay, but obviously they also know who the baker is by now. Skielik praat die baker. The first words we hear the baker speak once he's identified is, cherish those who seek the truth, but beware those who find it. Okay, so finding out the truth always comes at a cost. And no doubt, it could cost Greg and his friends their lives. Stadler verduidelik dat hy vir Lawson gevra het om daardie aand na die partytjie te nooi. Stadler now speaks, okay, Stadler, the baker, Dr. Stadler. He asked Thomas Lawson to invite Greg that evening so that he can get an estimation of Greg, see his character, what he's like, what he's dealing with, and whether he should be worried or not. Okay, skielik onthou Greg. He also remembers it was the baker that spoke to him there, okay, at the David statue. Remember that old man spoke out of the crowd, and then there was a woman that also spoke. Okay, and then they both disappeared. All right, that was them as well. It was kind of a giveaway there. I kind of suspected that it was the baker when the old man spoke to him. And it was also Valkyrie. Remember that one day in court when the court case was still on? For the one day there was a woman in the public gallery. This was Valkyrie. She is also the woman. At one stage there was a woman. Plunk came into Greg's flat and said, "There's a woman outside asking about you." Okay, that was Valkyrie. Okay, the baker says, "Ons almal hou meer van die donker, want dis waar ons fantasie uitleef." Okay, we all, I think fantasie has one E there, I'm not sure now. Sorry, teachers. Okay, the dark is where we live out or express our fantasies, our deepest, darkest fantasies. And obviously he has some really twisted fantasies. Stadler spot met Greg and Xander. He's like, why are you guys so keen to always impress your little daddies? Okay, obviously Greg and Xander, their actions lately, their pursuit of the baker was motivated by revenge for what the baker did to their fathers. Xander gives him a good answer. He says, because it's the closest thing we have to a hero. And I like that comment. I really like that comment. Being a father myself, the closest thing your kid can ever have to a hero is their father. And even if that father is not perfect, if he's just there, if he's just around, if he's just a dad, you can have a heroic impact on a young life. Die baker spot vir Xander oor sy pa se moord. Again, he's mocking Xander, trying to provoke him. He says, I was there, I saw it happening, I enjoyed it, I love seeing your dad being murdered. Okay, Xander starts to get an angstaanval, an anxiety attack. Remember, he gets those. Okay, he has been getting those. He gets one now. Okay, but he's going to get back on his feet just now. Okay, but at the moment he's like, the anxiety is overwhelming him. Then they see a boat. Remember, there's this canal next to the gardens. They spot a boat there, and it ties itself up there. It docks there, right? And Dirk and Ayla climbs out with a bunch of wachter guards, and they bring them to the rest of the people in the garden. So they were also caught. The baker said, done. One of them have been poisoned. One of the people here, standing here, Ayla, Dirk, Greg, Xander, Plunk, one of you have been poisoned by peroxin. Okay. Dog Xander, he says, maybe it's you, Xander, when you touched my door handle at my house. Maybe when you took a pamphlet. Maybe it's on the cell phone. Maybe when we gave Plunk water. You know, we've had so many chances to kill you and to poison you. You guys are so ridiculously stupid. So he's really mocking them, enjoying the control that he has over them now. Xander dink dit is hy. Xander's convinced it's him. He says, you want to kill me just like you killed my father. Okay. Net soos jy my pa doodgemaak het. Die baker verduidelik, he explains dat Doc Pienaar en Greg Owens sy pa wou doodmaak en dat hulle hom gevra het. He says it was Doc and Greg's dad who wanted to kill the judge, and they asked me for help because I know how to murder people and get away with it. Valkyrie encouraged me. This woman is evil, right? He calls her his Lady Macbeth, evil woman. Valkyrie het die behandeling van die gif in 'n diabetes inspuitnaald. Now she's standing there with a little diabetes needle, those little things, okay, you can inject it, you don't even hardly feel it, right? So the antidote, atropine, is in this needle. So one of them has been poisoned, and he's standing there with this I mean, who thinks of a plan like this? You meet them there in the garden, poison one of them, and then stand there with an antidote, and horrible. You have to take one shot in your quad, your bourbonspear. Then the poison, which is peroxin, would dissipate. Okay. Zander sê was die sondes af, nie net die gesig nie. Okay. He says also wash. Remember, he always says that wash your sins, not just your face. The baker say, well, that's exactly what we're going to do now. And that is the baker's cue in the next chapter to give all the information that he knows. He's about to kill them, so he doesn't care now what they know. He's going to tell them how stupid they've been and what a cool, clever, evil guy he is. Die sondes van die vaders, the sins of the fathers. This is also a major theme in this book. If you think about Greg, if you think about Zander, the sins that their fathers committed, they are paying for that now, right? Sins of fathers jump down to generations. If your father made a bad decision, you are suffering. If his father made a bad decision, sometimes it takes generations, hundreds of years, for a family to dig themselves out of dumb decisions that somebody made. Okay. Die baker begin inligting gee. He starts to spill information and he enjoys it, right? He says, die baker sê, Rian Trollip, who was one of the suspects, remember, the doctor that hung himself, is his brother. Okay, Greg onthou, daar was 'n foto in die koerante van die begrafnis. The funeral of Rian Trollip after he hung himself, after they discovered I want to say that I can't say it on YouTube, but you know what they discovered on his computer, and Valkyrie was there. Okay, Rian, but actually he was the baker's nephew on his mom's side. Okay, his parents died, and then he went and lived with the baker and his family there on the farm, where things were tough, remember? They became like brothers. Hulle het swaar groot geword. This is now, he's enjoying now, telling the story. In this plaas, Uitskot Kraal in die Vrystaat. Okay? Op die plaas het hy geweld en morele buigbaarheid geleer. This is where he learned this warped love for violence and his, what he calls moral flexibility. What we would call evil, he calls, you're just morally flexible, okay? He says his dad was a religious man, hard man. He would sit in the church on Sundays, and then Mondays, after he's had a day of not sinning, he would beat the farm workers, the black farm workers on the farm. This would have been apartheid days, remember? Sy pa, but the dad didn't stop there. He also hit Rian, and he hit him as well. Hy het op die plaas begin experimenteer met gifstowwe. They developed this interest in poisons, in poisoning animals, and obviously later they applied this to poisoning humans. He admits to being part of Project Coast. He says, my brother Rian, I brought him in. I got him involved in Project Coast, but he thought it was just a frontmaatskappy. It was just a front. He was working for some pharmaceutical company, and Stadler involved him in that, but he said Rian never really knew that it was actually Project Coast. He thought it was something else. Okay. Hy het hom by die projek ingetrek. Then quite interesting, I think it's Greg mentions the brown notebook, and the baker is quite surprised to hear about that, and he says, it's probably Rian's wife, okay, that sent it to you. She's an emotionally unstable alcoholic, emotioneel onstabiele alcoholist. He says, but I'll get to her, I'll make her pay, I'll go and visit her and neem wraak You will enjoy that as well. He's going to take out revenge on her as well. By Project Coast, he says at this project, he could satisfy his fascination with pain. Okay, hy sê intense fascinasie met pyn bevredig. Bevredig is satisfy. Na Project Coast wou Stadler nog meer chaos veroorsaak. He's like Project Coast, he was just whet his appetite. Okay, he wanted to do it on a larger scale. Okay, and cause more chaos. So after apartheid ended, so early 1990s, by 94 we were a democracy, but basically by 92 things were done for the National Party, and the world started looking for people, scientists with experience in chemical warfare. And this is where someone with Stadler becomes in high demand, right? Because he's got this knowledge. Dit was toe wat Stadler vir Valkyrie ontmoet het. So it was in that time period where he met this evil woman, Valkyrie. She knew what his experiences were, okay, and what his knowledge is. And she introduced them to Doc Pienaar and Chris Owen. These two guys, Doc Pienaar and Chris Owen, their businesses were busy failing, and they besig om te vou. En hulle het Stadler betrek, so they drew or involved Stadler into Project Nursery Rhyme. That is how it all happened. What was Project Nursery Rhyme? Here we get the perfect detail now, okay? The perfectly nuanced detail. This was the plan. Versteek, hide, deadly virus in a flu injection. So when you go to the chemist to get your flu shot before winter, then you get a deadly virus. Then, that was part of, that was Stadler's plan. It's just like, we're going to kill people for fun. Okay, cool. And then they're going to sell the vaccinations. Sorry, the plan of the flu injections was Valkyrie's plan. The plan to sell it was Stadler's plan. He wanted to make money as well. Not just kill people, also make money. He wanted to sell the inoculation. So that was Project Nursery Rhyme. Okay, it was actually Valkyrie's plan. The money side of it, of selling the vaccine, came from Stadler. Greg begins skielik naar voel. So now Greg starts feeling sick. Remember, one of them has been poisoned. We don't know who it is yet. His vision goes blurry. Hy voel sy visie vergly. Hy is die een. He is the one that has been poisoned, not Zander. Then the baker just keeps talking, okay. He says, Rian wou na die polisie gaan. And then he planted the stuff on his own brother or nephew's computer. He knew, hy het geweet dat Rian in die tronk vermoor sou word. He knew that Rian would be murdered in jail. Die baker sê dis jammer dat Greg se pa die tronk aanval oorleef. He's like, man, it's such a pity that your dad survived the attack in jail. But we'll still get to him. Valkyrie hou die spuitnaald met die enstof voor Greg. She like teases him. She's like, here's the antidote. Are you feeling sick, boy? Here it is. You need this. Then, momentum shifts. Zander kom om die dag te red. Okay, like soldier Alexander the Great getting back on his horse. Okay, with his taking out his sword. He is ready to strike the killer blow. Hy verduidelik vir Stadler. Mr. Stadler, have you ever heard of ransomware? Ransomware. And the baker's like, he's so arrogant, he's totally in control. He's like, what are you talking about? Of course I've heard of ransomware. Okay, ransomware is where someone hacks into your computer, locks all your files, all your information, and then sells you the password, okay? Then you pay to get your stuff back. They hold you ransom, okay? They hold your information, your computer ransom. Valkyrie's phone rings. Okay, she says, huh? What's going on here? It's the lab phoning. Stadler's like, yeah, well, answer it. Let's see what it is. Let's answer the phone. Stadler's lab se rekenaars is almal gesluit met 'n wagwoord. This is the people at the lab are saying all the computers are locked with a password. It's asking for a password. What's going on? Zander is soos Alexander die Grote, wat die Gordiaanse knoop oopkap met sy swaard. He becomes like Alexander the Great. The Gordian knot's about to be chopped with the sword. We're not untying this bloody knot, we're chopping it in half. Zander's like, the baker says, what do you want? Zander says, I don't want money, I want justice. Ek soek geregtigheid. Chapter 67. Geregtigheid vir die regter. Justice for the judge. Ayla se oë rek, want sy weet wat dockswear is. Greg is nou in ontsettende pyn. In the meantime, Greg's really struggling now. Zander verduidelik. He says, a Trojan gave me access, het my toegang gegee tot al jou data. Okay? As Stadler nie doen wat Zander sê nie, dan word al die data aan die owerhede gegee. He says, now Stadler, listen to me. You're going to do what I say right now. All this information is going to be sent to the authorities. All those files that were encrypted, remember all the stuff he downloaded? He says it's all going to be sent to the authorities. Baker's like, no, it's encrypted. You can't get it. Zander's like, nope, I cracked it. The answer was uitskotkraal. That was what unlocked it. Okay, now I'm not sure if he decoded it or it doesn't really give detail, but it sounds like it. To decrypt it, he had to guess the password, which was uitskotkraal, which is not very clever. But the book's not 100% clear there, okay. But anyway, he cracked it because he knew the word uitskotkraal. Now that data dump is unlocked. Remember, they can now access all of his stuff. The stuff that they stole when they had the Trojan on his computer. Zander het al die bewyse van Project Nursery Rhyme. He's got everything now. Elke e-pos, every email that's ever been sent, all the contacts, all the documents. He says the police will get it in one big information dump if you do not do what I say. The baker is like, you're bluffing. I don't buy it. You didn't crack you didn't decode it. But then Zander says, okay, if I didn't, then how would I know about this? Hy noem iets wat hy net sal weet as hy wel die baker se rekenaar gekraak het. Remember they saw that thing about CRISPR technology. And so now Zander explains to him in detail what's in all those files. He says it's a virus. So 'n virus wat mense se breine oor afstand kan beheer. En dan aktiveer. Okay. Dan aktiveer mense te martel. So a virus that can allows you to control a person's brain over a distance. Okay, that's his latest project. Okay. Zander noem ook dat hulle dit op babas wil toepas. They want to adapt it to babies. They want to make light they want to use light manipulation on brains, which then gets carried over from generation to generation. Okay, so then the next generation is born with that automatically, so that they can create a whole thousands of people that they can manipulate with their computers. Something like that. I don't really understand. I don't think it's super important that we understand the details. But the only thing that you need to know is that Zander is here saying to the baker, listen, I know exactly what you've been up to. I've cracked everything. How would I know all this? No skrik die baker vir die eerste keer. He goes quiet. They've got him. Okay, they've got him now. Die baker then asks Zander, okay, so what do you want? Zander wil hê Die lijfwagte moet hulle wapens in die kanaal gooi. He says, I want these guys to throw their weapons in the water. Die baker stem in. He agrees to do what Zander says. Then Ayla, Dirk, Greg, their hands word losgebind en die wagte word na die hek toegeneem sodat hulle die gewere in die kanaal kan gooi. Okay, Greg vat die spuitnaald uit Valkyrie se hande. By this time Greg's dying. Okay, he takes the needle out of her hands. Plank takes the needle and injects the atropine into Greg's leg. Stadler's still going on about his sick stuff. He says, yeah, this reminds me of how we poisoned the monkeys, hoe ons die ape vergiftig het. We would poison them with pyroxin, then give them atropine until they come to it again. And as soon as they're better, then we'll poison them again, then we give them atropine again, just to see them suffer. Haha, that's so much fun. Okay. Greg throws the cell phone in the canal, omdat hy dink die gif is daarop. He takes the phone in his hand. He's like, obviously this is how he poisoned me with the pyroxin. And he throws the phone into the river or into the canal. Then Stadler's eyes look at Greg's hat. Remember that vendor gave Greg a cap. It was the cap. Die pet is met pyroxin deurdrink. Die man by die stalletjie het dit vir hom gegee. The man at the stall gave it to Greg. He says, please, I insist, take the cap. And then on his head, obviously the thing was soaked with poison, and it went down into his scalp, and it poisoned him. Then Stadler explains to Zander exactly how we murdered your father. So even though he is like caught out here, he's in a corner, he keeps pushing, right? He says it was Valkyrie's idea om die binneband te gebruik, to use the tube to suffocate him. Zander says, hoekom gebruik jy so vrede? Why would you use such cruel methods? Stadler then says, because this is the way I would murder my own father. My own father who abused me. If I had to murder him, I would use the tube method. That's why I did it on your father. Stadler verduidelik, dit is omdat dit die manier is waarop hy sy eie pa sou vermoor. Sy pa wat hom mishandel en geslaan het. Remember the dad that abused him. Stadler beskryf die moord op Zander se pa as 'n makabere skoonheid, a morbid beauty, like an evil beauty. He found it to be beautiful, a murder where someone suffers and suffocates in their own blood and vomit. Okay, to him it's beautiful. Okay, then there's clearly something not right in your head. Okay, Stadler verduidelik dat hulle sy pa se liggaam in sakke toegedraai het, they wrapped it in bags, gewigte om sy enkels gesit het, weights around the ankles, klein vliegtuig, laat val in die see, drop it in the sea. Suddenly, Zander snaps and hy skiet die baker. And this is the way you execute someone, right? This is how they teach you in the like special forces, okay? 2 shots in the heart, 1 in the head, okay? Then you're most certainly dead. 1 keer in die kop en 2 keer in die hart. Chapter 68, last chapter with a number, die slang, the snake. Dr. Stadler lay in a plas bloed. He's lying there in a pool of blood. He's dead. But Valkyrie unfortunately escaped. When they looked to where she was standing, she's gone. They all jump on the baker's boat. And Dirk volg die kanaal. He follows the little channel until it opens up into the Grand Canal Grande. Okay, into the Grand Canal. Dirk versnel. He goes faster, and they leave the scene. Greg vra om verskoning vir Plank. He's my friend, I'm so sorry I left you in Istanbul, I feel terrible. Plank is almost himself again. He says, you just owe me 6 beers. I can't wait to see Lisa. They talk about how they're going to be each other's best men on their weddings, how their children are going to be naughty together. Zander vra of hy met Greg kan praat. Zander's like, can I just chat to you? He says, he reminds him again of Prometheus and how he suffered of the guilt of his liver being figuratively eaten away by the guilt of what he's done to Greg's family. He says he's sorry. Xander says, revenge didn't quite feel like it should have felt. When I took revenge on you, it affected me the same way. Just like Greg's mother always said, as jy wil wraak neem, moet jy 2 grafte grawe. When you want to take revenge, you have to dig two graves, because if you take revenge, you live with guilt after that as well. Xander gooi die pistool in die water. He throws the pistol in the water. But it's not over. Skielik, there's a speedboat, a big speedboat. It's Valkyrie and 2 of the men. So it sounds like that I thought she was just shooting at them, right? But then it sounds like she actually crashed into them, and their little boat tears in 2. And they're in the water, and people are drowning, and there's bubbles and green bubbles and gunshots going into the water next to them. Greg, the narrator, not Greg, the narrator mentions een dood in Venetia, 1 dead in Venice. Okay, that was on page 11 that we saw that. Who died? Plank got shot, unfortunately, sadly. Greg dink terug aan hoe hy op die wal staan met 'n kombers oor sy skouer en kyk hoe hulle Plank se liggaam uit die kanaal haal. Hy dink terug. Die Suid-Afrikaanse ambassade het hulle gehelp. Daar was 'n koerantberig oor die moord. There was a newspaper article about the murder in the koninklike tuine, in the royal gardens. There was a big media levy, media frenzy, when Xander dumped all of Stadler's stuff on the news. Turret Media, ironically, his dad's old company, said Greg Owen is oorlede. Remember the start of the book there, page 11. The transponder, how did they mistake Greg for Plank? The transponder was in Plank's hand, not in Greg's hand, and that misled them to think that it was Greg Owen that died. Okay. Format. So now they're back in South Africa. We have come full circle with this book. Format's when you wipe out everything, right, on your computer. So everything has been wiped out in this book. Okay. People, Plank is dead. Greg's dad's still in jail. He visits him in jail. His dad asks him how Plank's funeral was. Greg says it was very sad. Some characters that we haven't read about for a very long time reappear. Nicole, Cornele, the old deputy head boy, TJ, the friend that betrayed him. Some teachers from Lawson College were also there. Xander and Ayla were not there. After Venetia, they disappeared. Okay. Greg thinks steeds, hy ken nie die werklike Xander nie. He doesn't really know the real Xander. There were always layers and layers and walls to this guy. At times he may have seen flashes or insights of the real Xander, but he remains an enigma. He remains quite a mysterious character. Greg's pa, he speaks to his dad in jail. He admits that he wasn't a good dad, especially for always comparing him to John and putting all the pressure on John, and then blaming the suicide partly on Greg. And he said to Greg, I don't want you to feel guilty anymore. I don't want you to be like, we didn't say it, but it's that whole Prometheus theme of guilt. I don't want you to feel guilty. This is not your fault. Then they talk about Plank, and they talk about John's death. Greg dink aan 'n slim hacker se woorde. Some hacker once said, geen mens stap onveranderd uit sy eie storie nie. No person walks through his own story unchanged. We are all unchanged, and no doubt Xander, Ayla, everyone involved in this story are permanently changed by the events of the last few years in their lives. Outside the jail, his mom's there. Andre is there. Okay, he was not, we suspected him, he's cleared. Dirk's still there and Lisa's there, and they get in the car there. As Greg walks back to the car, Lisa jumps out of the car and gives Greg a long hug. Okay, I don't know if this suggests anything. Maybe their friendship will grow in a different direction, because Lisa seems like an amazing person. Okay, so that is the end of that. Thank you for taking this journey with me. I really appreciate you purchasing these videos and doing it honestly and promoting it for me. It really, really helps. If there's anything that I can help with, please let me know. If there's anything more I can do that'll make a difference in your life in terms of Afrikaans, please don't hesitate to email me. I'll put all the details. Is obviously on that purchase email. You can use those contact details to contact me. Thank you so much, and all the best for your tests and exams. We'll chat soon. Bye.